I'm the one who put this on the agenda, so if it's okay with everyone, I'll kind of kick it off.
Okay.
I felt the need to add it to the agenda, quite honestly, out of necessity. I didn't really want to add it to a very long agenda, but for the people of the city and the amount of people that have reached out to me literally almost on a daily basis, or I can't even go into Publix without residents that aren't my constituents that have asked me why we haven't discussed this, why it hasn't happened. I've had many conversations with the city manager. We were trying to figure out a way to work this where it didn't have to come to this, but unfortunately, here we are. So I am going to just basically read my comments on this just to kind of open the discussion, just to kind of lay out what my feelings are, where I'm at. And trust me, this was not an easy thing to do, but it is necessary. And you all put me here for a reason, and that's to do what's best for the citizens. So I want to take a few moments tonight and speak candidly and directly to the people of Treasure Island and to our staff and to the commission about something I believe that can no longer be ignored. I've had many discussions with our city managers and our weekly meetings on this very subject to no resolve. After careful thought and deep concern, I believe it is time for this commission to take action and move forward in the termination of the city manager. The issues we are facing are not minor ones. They are not temporary. They are not systematic, and they are not the direct result. And they are a direct result of poor leadership at the top. Time and time again, Chuck has shown us a lack of leadership. Not only has his inability to support our residents, but even more troubling in his way that he has failed his own staff. We have lost far too many employees under his watch, and the ones who remain are being asked to carry the burden of multiple roles just to keep the basic services running. This is unfair, it's unsustainable, and it is a sign of a management style that simply just is not working. At nearly every meeting, we've seen the same pattern. Chuck comes in unprepared. Simple questions are met with, "I'll get back with you, I'm not sure," or "I misspoke at the last meeting," yet we're being asked to vote on that subject. This is not leadership. That's not accountability, and it's certainly not the kind of response the residents of Treasure Island deserve from someone in the highest administrative role in our city. Right now, we still do not have a city attorney. Jen's last day, I believe, is May 30th.
It's Memorial Day.
Yes, Memorial Day. We have not received one single application for the job as of this morning for city attorney. We also continue to operate without a finance director, despite numerous suggestions that have been successfully implemented in other beach communities, suggestions that Chuck has neither explored nor acted on. These failures are especially dangerous as we enter budget season, where we are asked and tasked with discussing millage rates and long-term financial planning without the support of critical leadership positions and under a city manager who has not shown the capacity to guide us through these challenges. And also understand, because I know, and I have a heart, I lost everything in the hurricane too, and I'm kind of going off track here a little bit. The things that I'm mentioning are not hurricane related. These are everyday management styles. So please understand that this is not about what happened through the hurricane. I'm talking about present. I wanted to give the benefit of the doubt until I sat in this seat, because sometimes things look a little different on this side. So I want everyone to understand that this is not hurricane related items. There are many more reasons I believe that the city manager should not remain in this position. But the bottom line is, every day that he remains in the seat, our city continues to move in the wrong direction. It is time that we acknowledge what so many have already seen so clearly. I wanted the city manager to have an opportunity to prove himself after I took office, hoping that what I was seeing from the outside looking in wasn't what I would see sitting in this seat. Unfortunately, I believe it's worse. I understand we have had extenuating circumstances, back-to-back hurricanes, etc. However, a true leader steps up and leads and does the necessary things and listens to the people. And unfortunately, none of this happened. Treasure Island deserves better. Our staff deserves better, and this community deserves better. A city manager who is capable, prepared, and committed to leading with integrity and vision. For those reasons, I will be making a motion to put the city manager, Chuck Anderson, on paid administrative leave to allow for the city commission to comply with the city charter in bringing a resolution removing him from office at our next regular commission meeting. And this would be, this would be immediately, because I cannot, in good conscience, allow the downward trajectory to continue another day. We will not be left without a leader, as Chief Bars, who serves as our assistant city manager, would be our acting city manager until we place an interim or a permanent city manager. His ability to lead has been proven throughout the years, and I have full faith and trust in his ability.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to guess that this is going to go under a resolution.
So a resolution would need to be brought back in accordance with the charter. Right now, I think this item has just been brought forward. So, and I believe Commissioner Vasquez just said that she was making a motion.
Okay.
I don't know that she's made the motion yet. I think
No.
she was probably
Okay.
wanting to hear from her fellow
Correct.
commissioners to see, how they felt about this item.
Okay.
Am
And
I saying
because,
that correct?
no, that is correct. And because it is a resolution item, that's why I don't believe that we can go one more day, which is why the administrative and paid administrative leave, effective immediately, would give us time to put that together, the resolution, and bring it back at the next meeting. And then our assistant city manager would immediately take the position.
Okay. So at this point, then, are there any questions from the commissioners?
Do we make questions in our comments on this now or after public comment? I forget how it goes.
Usually what we do is we would be having a discussion with staff, and since this one was brought up by a commissioner and that was staff, we only have what Tammy read.
And if I'm correct, Jen, would that not just be a discussion between us and then public comment and then back for discussion?
Correct.
And then the motion?
Yeah. Yeah, you would have a discussion among you, then you would hear public comment.
Correct.
You would make a motion and see if there was any further discussion, and then move forward.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm happy to throw in my 2 cents on this. I've probably got 75 emails on this over the last couple of days. And one thing, I kind of wrote some things down here. Before I get into that, I just want to say one thing. Some of these emails I got today said, Chuck is a nice person. Chuck is this. I just want to say I'm not debating any of that. I mean, I think Chuck probably is a very nice person. I think if I would have maybe gone skiing in Montana 4 years ago and met Chuck in a bar afterwards and had a beer with him, I probably would like him. But that has nothing really to do with job performance. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. But I ran as a resident's first candidate. During my campaign, I campaigned door to door, held many campaign events. 90% of the residents I spoke to said that our city manager should be relieved of his duties. Additionally, of all the emails that I received over the last couple of days, they were not just from my district, they were from all over the town. I would say about 75% of those emails that I received, were for relieving Chuck from his post. And as I thought about that today a little bit, it kind of made sense to me because I said that 90% of the people that I talked to in my district wanted, no longer wanted Chuck to be in this role. And I received about 85% of the vote. So I assume that those people that voted yes for me knew that I was, kind of felt that way also. And then when you look at the whole town, John, who I believe during the no confidence vote voted that he didn't have confidence in Chuck, he received about 75% of the vote. And that's about what I got of emails today from the entire town. So to me, it's kind of all adding up that the residents do not want this. And similar to Vice Mayor Vasquez, I decided that even though 90% of my residents, wanted this, I at least needed to go in here for myself and see, firsthand, and make a decision here. I have a fair amount of leadership experience and business experience. And so after doing that, I agree with my residents 100%. Since I've been working with Chuck, I've clearly observed that he does not have the management experience, leadership experience, or financial experience to do the job of city manager at Treasure Island. Personally, I have found him to be misleading in his dealings with me and make continual excuses for his lack of performance. Every meeting that I have with Chuck contains misrepresentations, omissions of critical facts, and excuses on why he has not performed. Soon I will list all the things that he has done to hurt the residents of Treasure Island, but before I do that, I want to list the things that he's done to hurt me. I don't feel that I've ever done anything to hurt Chuck, but Chuck was a key player in the disgusting appointment sham that took place last November. And thank God we were able to have an election in March. He tried to suppress my campaign at every turn. And he's most recently, since I got finally on the commission, tried to keep me from putting items on the agenda. So what has Chuck done to hurt the residents? I got a list here. I'll try to go through quickly. Has no clue how much free grass we have as a city. There's almost $29 million of critical infrastructural projects that we need to move, and he has no plan for it. Has no idea the sources of funds for paying for almost $29 million in capital projects. Has no idea what specific other sources of funds are in his financial plan beside increasing property taxes. His idea to offset loss in city revenues to bring in the bond folks and let's borrow some more. Our city manager's solution is to borrow money and raise property taxes, not cut costs. He's tried to set policy, which is the commissioner's role, not the city manager's. We are 8 months post-hurricane, and critical infrastructure projects such as the lift station and seawalls have made zero progress. He didn't support the residents when, option 2 was brought forward, and even after the commission directed him to move to option 2. I think Mayor Doctor had to send a letter on January 2nd, forcing him to do that. With no knowledge of the FEMA 50% rule back in August of 24, he tried to negotiate a look-back rule that would have helped kick us all out of our homes, along with all the other supporters of Elevate TI. Went around the commission to select option 1 for FEMA reporting and delayed permits for the TI residents for months. Continued to stand by the walk-by inspections, even after they were proven to be inaccurate. I don't know if anyone's read the Tampa Bay Times recently, but that Tidal Basin company has just been lambasted for what a joke they were. Wanted to agreed with sending out the inaccurate substantial damage letting. The commission meeting tapes are full of wrong comments, missteps, total lack of understanding of option 1 and option 2. Misled the city on the FEMA follow-up meeting. Continued to kind of side with staff and let's force people out of their homes with option 1. When example after example was presented that the walk-by inspections were, not accurate, his response was all communities are having the same issues. He didn't really even understand our normal permitting process and how it should be followed for option 2. Never looked into the fill dirt ordinance that the commission directed him to do. Not allowing commissioners to add items to the agenda when they requested, and not doing an outsourced trash comparison when he was asked about 9 months ago, And again, some of the hiring decisions have been, in my mind, just terrible. I mean, we went to hire a finance director that had no finance degree. And then, you know, the residents were blamed that supposedly they called down to the city to find out about all the trouble she was in down there. I don't buy that for a second. All you had to do is go type in her name in online. You could find out everything you needed to know. No one needed to call anybody down there. So again, the residents were at fault again. So I do need to stick up for Chuck in one area. And he was sold a bill of goods when he took this job. And him and I have actually talked about this. This by no means that I support him continuing to do it, but would it surprise you if I told you that hiring Chuck, who is from Montana, has no coastal experience, has never worked in Florida, has never been a city manager, was done absolutely by design? Yes, it was absolutely done on purpose, and I will explain to you why. Our ex-mayor and his staff wanted someone like Chuck with no experience so they could get his help in passing and implementing Elevate TI. They told him it was about to pass and he would be off to the races with it. And that sentence right there came directly from Chuck. He told me that. He said, they told me that it was going to pass and I'd be off to the races. And they thought he would provide a pass of least resistance and was someone they could control in order to get all their environmental vanity projects passed. Our ex-mayor's dream was to get Elevate TI passed and then travel the state to mayor's conferences and celebrate the fact that he was the first mayor in Florida to elevate the town, and this would help his ambitions to move up in politics. I think we all see how that turned out. So this is yet another reason why I say Elevate TI is one of the biggest black marks on our city, and Chuck, unfortunately, is a casualty of that. Let me continue my story. I think it'll make more sense to you. Once, you know, the field of city manager candidates was narrowed down to 5, they were made available to the public for interviews and meet and greets. And a group of influential residents who are successful business people interviewed all 5 candidates using the same scoring method. Mr. Slayton, who is from Lake Wales, Florida, was first on everybody's book. Chuck was last. Not trying to rub salt in the wound on Chuck, but the guy had no coastal experience, never worked in Florida, never been a city manager. So, you know, the ex-mayor and his staff picked Chuck, especially when they found out Mr. Slayton was not going to go along with Elevate TI. He said, wait a minute, I don't think I agree with this. That this thing doesn't make any sense to me. Boom, you're out. So we lost. And if anyone wants to go look up Mr. Slayton, he is from Lake Wales. He's amazing. He's turned the town around. He's got them tons of money. He wanted to spend his last 10 years here, you know, because he wanted a boat and beach and everything. And we lost him because of Elevate TI. So the ex-mayor is, you know, like once he didn't go along with it, they were able to give us a commission to pick Chuck, which is not hard to believe. I mean, during that time, Mayor Doctor was usually the only vote, you know, of sanity. And the rest is history, and we got Chuck. And unfortunately now, Chuck needs to go. There's no way that myself or the residents of District 2 can support Chuck one day longer. And I just want to lay out, I think that Vice Mayor Vasquez has got a great plan in place as far as using the fire chief as our kind of assistant city manager. But if we need an interim city manager very quickly, there's a group called the Florida City and County Management Association that has retired city managers that are basically Mr. Slayton from over in Lake Wales. He feels bad about this entire thing. He said that, and by the way, he won't come work for us now because they realized what they were going to lose, and now they're paying him a bunch of money, so he can't afford to leave Lake Wales. But he said a lot of these guys could be working on the job in 1 to 2 weeks. And actually, one of the gentlemen, Taylor Brown, he was one of our 5 finalists to be the city manager this last time around when Chuck got. So if we need a plan going forward, we have one. We have the fire chief, we have one of these retired city managers, and then we absolutely need to start a search for a full-time city manager tomorrow.
And you will see that is actually in my motion. The ICMA also is another one that is fabulous, and they're local, so we don't have to move anybody here as well. And you'll hear a little bit about that later.
Anxious to hear it.
Are you ready? Commissioner Cezanne?
Thank you. Well, I was preparing for a city manager review, but that's all I got. So I wasn't prepared for this, but go ahead.
Let's move on to the public comments. First is Mark Hoey.
Good evening again. Mark Hoey, 225 104th, 110, District 3. You know, it is a bit of a deja vu again. I want to take an opportunity to read some segments out of the letter to the editor I sent in after June 20th, 2024, when the previous mayor and commission selected Mr. Anderson for city manager. And again, let me state up front, Chuck, I have nothing but personal respect for you. Unfortunately, you were set up. You were set up. On June 20th, we selected a new city manager for our community. This was the culmination of a long, arduous, and probably expensive process. I followed the selection process from the very beginning, from the selection of the recruiter, the outreach for candidates, the reviewing, paring of the candidate field from 60 to the final 4, and the final phase of interviews. Along the way, I believed the commission was on the right path for the selection of the best, most qualified candidate to be our new city manager. In the end, I was wrong. The desired objectives set forth in the beginning: Florida city management experience, a history of continuity in the job, strong community economic development experience, robust academic and professional credentials, went out the window when the final selection was made. Having read the resume and background reports, watched the interviews, spoken to each of the final 4 candidates, I believe the weakest of the 4 candidates was chosen. What a missed opportunity for our city. To me, the final decision was based on style, not substance. In the end, Mr. Anderson is a nice guy, but will take on the job with the least knowledge, educational, professional credentials, least management experience, never a prior city manager, and no Florida municipal experience. He will be dependent on city staff to help him do his job for some time while he learns how to be a city manager. Meanwhile, the governance of the city will remain a status quo. What's done is done, my comments then. I will fully support Mr. Anderson and aid him in any means possible. The citizens and the community of Treasure Island needed him to be successful. Unfortunately, 9 months hence, that's not been the case. And again, Chuck, if I was in your shoes, I would have taken the job too. It was offered to me. But unfortunately, the background was a setup that did not do you or the city well. Thank you.
Sarah Pennington?
Good evening, Sarah Pennington, Isle of Palms. Before I get to my prepared statement, I would like to address what Commissioner Dickey was just mentioning about basically, I would call it blaming the residents for people leaving Treasure Island, employees here. And I just want to say to you, have you asked yourself, why are people upset with some of these employees' behavior? Are all of us crazy? Is that what you think? I think people have legitimate concerns, and people should be able to address those concerns. There's nothing wrong with that. It's hard. It's scary. I feel nervous being up here talking about this. It's not easy to do, but we have to do it. And I think the consensus, if you have all of these people saying the same thing and then you're blaming them, it doesn't add up to me. And I just wanted to point that out. I've been a small business owner for almost 2 decades, and I've had to fire people before. It's not something that I take lightly or ever wanted to do. When I've had to fire someone, it's because I'd given them multiple chances to right the ship, and they just couldn't do it. Did that mean that they were a bad person? No. But did it mean that maybe they were not the right person for the job? Yes. Sometimes someone is just not the right person for the job, and we need to move on. I'm not someone to advocate for firing of people, but I also cannot advocate for continuing employment of someone who is shown to not be the right fit for the job. I can list out many issues that have occurred, but instead I'll focus on what we need. We deserve a city manager that is on top of everything going on in the city and has direct, clear answers. Someone who is plugged in. We need a city manager with more experience that we can rely on to give honest answers, work in harmony with the city council and the citizens, and do what's in the best interest of the residents. We need a passionate, experienced go-getter. I think some people may say that our staff was working during unprecedented times with the back-to-back storms, and yes, that's true. But what I believe is unprecedented times really put us to the test and show people's character and what they're capable of. And what we need is someone who can stand up and get the job done during the unprecedented times. Someone we can rely on during the unprecedented times to do what's best for the residents, businesses, and the city of Treasure Island. Also, I have a printout. This is directly from the 2025 budget, and I just want to refresh everyone in case you're not sure. At the top of the hierarchy of our government here is the citizens of Treasure Island are at the very top. And underneath that is the mayor and the commission and some other boards, and below that is the city manager. And so I've seen many times where the residents are expressing their concerns to the commission. The commission is making directions to the city manager, and then those things are not happening. And so that, Commissioner Dickey, is the problem and why residents are so upset. Thank you.
West Evans.
West Evans, Isle of Palms. I really don't have much to say. Vice Mayor Vasquez, Commissioner Clark, you guys kind of summed it up, along with Mark Hoey and my sweetheart who just stepped down from the mic. I just want to say I believe we've all witnessed it. I've been talking about it for months. There's been a lot of instances of the commission being misled by our city manager and some members of the staff. And when I say staff, and I will speak for everyone when I say this. When we get up and we talk about staff, we're not talking about Tom, who walks the ladies out to their cars. We love Tom. We're not talking about. We're talking about some of the heads of these departments who are running their own agenda outside of what the commission wants. And I believe that's what's been happening for a long time. And unfortunately, like Mark Hoey said, Mr. Anderson, Chuck, I believe you were set up when you were brought in for this. They thought, when I say they, I'm specifically speaking about our former mayor, the one who tucked tail and ran, actually, once times got tough. They brought you in because they knew you didn't have experience, and they knew they had an agenda that was not in line with what the citizens of this town wanted. So what did they do? They brought in someone who wouldn't know what was going on here, so then they could guide you and teach you what to do here. And they're teaching you how to undermine the commission and undermine the citizens. The commission is who directs the city manager. If we have a city manager that does not take direction from the commission, that means we have a city manager who is not doing the will of the people who have elected their commissioners. You guys are here to represent us. We elect you because you're the people who most represented of the choices we had, what we wanted implemented. We want you to tell the city manager what we want to do. Our city manager now has not been doing that, and I agree with Vice Mayor Vasquez, with Commissioner Clark, that it's time to go. No ill will, like everyone else said. I'm sure you're a great guy. I'd love to play gin rummy with you sometime, but it might have to be in Montana. Thank you.
Brandy Long.
Hi, Brandy Long, District 2. With no knowledge of the FEMA 50% in August of 2024, the city manager tried to negotiate a look-back rule for supporters of Elevate TI, all of whom has since resigned. He went around the commission to select option 1 for FEMA reporting and delayed permits for Treasure Island residents for months, and never told commissioners in option 2 was FEMA reporting, that option 2 for FEMA reporting even existed. The commission voted unanimously to adopt option 2 on November 1st, but our city manager denied their request for over 2 months. Thank goodness Mayor Doctor sent a letter essentially forcing the city manager to follow the commissioner's direction. For 3 months, Treasure Island residents developed through research and hard work a better understanding of the FEMA reporting requirements than even our city manager had. The commission meeting tapes are full of embarrassing and wrong comments made by the city manager. Our biggest failure by our city manager is that he was provided a clear path on what needed to be done with option 2, but he failed to change direction. Our city manager accepted the colossal failure of the permitting process until Mayor Doctor took aggressive action. Our city manager did not even understand Treasure Island's normal permitting process and how this should be followed for purposes of option 2. This caused undue mental anguish and financial hardships on the Treasure Island residents. Our city manager denied 2 of our commissioners, Vasquez and Clark, their ability to govern and bring forth their ideas by not allowing them to add items to the commission's agenda. In August of 2024, Commissioner Dickey requested as part of the 2025 budget workshop a comparison of the cost to outsource residential trash pickup versus trying to run our own business, which given the size of Treasure Island is impossible to scale. Crickets for 9 months now from our city manager. In August of 2024, Commissioners Minning, Doctor, and Dickey asked for a simple fill dirt ordinance from Kimley Horn. Our city manager provided nothing and then told everyone that he could not get a hold of anyone at Kimley Horn, which they were one of our on-call engineering firms. Despite everyone acknowledging our property tax revenues will be declining significantly, our city manager has brought forward no meaningful capital plan or any proposed cuts to the city budget for the remainder of 2025 and into 2026. Our city manager tried to deny Commissioner Vasquez's request to put on the agenda a major cost savings idea related to managing Treasure Island's sewer system. Our city manager's idea to offset the loss in city revenue is to bring in the bond salesman and take on debt and raise property taxes. Our city manager's solution is borrow money and raise property taxes, not cut costs. Given the monumental rebuilding task that lies ahead for the Treasure Island residents, a strong city manager is critical. Unfortunately, our current city manager does not have the experience necessary to navigate all the pitfalls and challenges that Treasure Island will encounter over the next few years. We are at a turning point in the great history of Treasure Island, and it's time to turn the leadership of Treasure Island City to an experienced city manager with a proven track record of success. Now is an important time to do the right thing for our community. Thank you.
Carlos Miro.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. I have prepared comments that I'll go into in just a moment, but I want to very briefly mention my friend Ginger Goper. She was here earlier. She spoke about the natural shoreline. And I think in some sense, she and I are representative of all the citizens in Treasure Island. We both love Treasure Island deeply. We both are active in helping Treasure Island in a number of ways. And we both agree, for the most part, on everything. But there's a couple things that we don't agree on. And I think that's basically true for everyone in Treasure Island. We have to understand that we all love Treasure Island. We just sometimes don't necessarily agree about the best way of going things. So I'll go into my prepared comments. I'm speaking today to address the concerns about City Manager Chuck Anderson's performance, which I understand is under evaluation tonight, obviously. I want to be fair and professional, recognizing the challenges of post-hurricane recovery. But I must urge the Commission to consider new leadership to better serve Treasure Island. Over the past several months, many residents have raised serious issues about Mr. Anderson's tenure. We've heard some of that tonight. Many believe he disregarded your directive to pursue option 2 for permitting instead of choosing option 1. That whole process, by the way, was a colossal failure. I can't imagine how it could have been worse, which led to months of delays and heartache for homeowners trying to rebuild. Some of those homeowners are still trying to rebuild. I still have heartache going down my street on Tarpon, and just two days ago, another house was being demolished. You know, that means our community is suffering in ways that will never be recovered. These people are leaving, and I find that extremely painful. This permitting process has been described as a colossal failure, leaving families in distress. Additionally, there are concerns about transparency, including allegations that Mr. Anderson withheld information about a FEMA visit and failed to bring forward requested ordinances like a fill dirt regulation. That's all been discussed tonight. And garbage outsourcing analysis, despite this commission's clear instructions, which is perhaps the most troubling of all. You know, we are a city that's led by our elected representatives. And if we have a city manager who doesn't pay attention to our elected representatives, I'm sorry, in my view, that's unlawful. That means that we don't have a city that's led by the public. Further, residents report strained relations with this commission. It's alleged that Mr. Anderson misled Commissioner Clark and Vasquez, blocked their agenda items, and opposed Commissioner Clark's appointment in a way that felt personal and divisive. That was an ugly night, Mr. Anderson. It really was, to read that letter. His reported refusal to collaborate with Jacobs Engineering, which included delaying their access to critical systems, compounded recovery challenges. Most troubling is the claim that he pushed for a look-back rule and Elevate TI. Elevate TI has been a cancer on this city. Thank God we've pushed it back, but it's always trying to rear its ugly head again. It could have prevented many from returning to their homes permanently, a policy that thankfully was not adopted. I acknowledge that Mr. Anderson's efforts in some areas, like reducing the permit backlog, as noted in a meeting in February. However, the pattern of noncompliance, lack of transparency, which I've, even from the last year, I mentioned the lack of transparency, and strained trust cannot be ignored. Treasure Island is at a crossroads, ladies and gentlemen. We need a city manager who aligns with your directives, our duly elected representatives, communicates openly, and prioritizes residents' needs above all else. I firmly believe that our community is united in seeking leadership that restores confidence and accelerates our recovery. Commissioners, Mr. Mayor, I respectfully urge you to consider a change in leadership. Our city deserves a manager who works collaboratively with this commission and puts residents first. Please listen to our voices, attend to these issues, and I look forward to working with you as you guide Treasure Island toward a stronger, more transparent future. Thank you for your time and commitment to the city. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last public comment, Brianna Fox.
She left.
She left.
She was a young
Oh,
lady
okay.
there with a child. They left.
Great. So that was our last public comment. So now we'll move into the. I'm sorry. Oh. Bob first.
Well, hi, everybody. Is this like saving the best for last?
That's right.
You can laugh if you want. Interesting evening, and I wanted to be last just to get in the tail end and hear what the other residents have had to say. Mr. Anderson's certainly on trial, be at a kangaroo court this evening. And there haven't been any good comments about Mr. Anderson. And yet there are a lot of good things about Mr. Anderson, excuse me, and what Mr. Anderson has done for the city. There is nobody in this city or on this coast who has been a city manager through back-to-back hurricanes. Nobody. And yet Mr. Anderson was put in that position, not of his own volition, but because it just happened. And there's no guidebook, there's no rule book, there's no saying do this next, there's no multiple choice, and there's no true false. It's all on your shoulders. And he had help from city staff, but I will venture to say he suffered through, and you ask why city staff, I forget the person who just commented, has been decimated. Been decimated because of the people in this room who have repeatedly degraded, bullied, demagogued, whatever other word you want to say, add to that, the city staff. And if I were on city staff, I wouldn't do it because I'd never give up. But those people have feelings. And when it's a constant barrage from the same people in this room, week after week after week, of disparaging comments, you get what we got. And that's very unfortunate. And so to lay this on the shoulders of our city manager for lack of leadership is BS. Let's put the blame where it belongs. And it belongs on the people who have repeatedly, as I said, downgraded these folks. Repeatedly. Let's take a look at what the city manager has accomplished. You got the city's infrastructure and services back up and running after the hurricanes, both hurricanes. And we are one of the few communities who is, I might add, from tax standpoint, a full-service community. We have police, we have fire, we have solid waste, we have water, and we have wastewater, plus stormwater and all the others. Our permit application process got up and running, not without issues, I might add, but thanks to the city manager and Assistant Fire Chief Tom Brennett, that process has really been refined and has really hit the ground running. I might add that notwithstanding the commission's pulling funding for the additional staff 2 weeks ago, and now it's back on the agenda. So you ought to take a look in the mirror. People who live in glass houses should throw stones. The LDRs and the fill dirt ordinances. We heard loud and loud, time after time, get those things. We want permits. We want to bring in fill. Well, it's happened. And the congratulations, should go to the Land Planning Agency, the LPA, P&Z, and to the commission, but they're all under the leadership of our city manager. Come on. Nobody mentioned any of that. And yet it was the #1 focus for a while. We want fill. We want fill. And it died because you got it. How about a little congratulations? Okay, let's take a look at the shoreline process, living shoreline. That's moving along. The temporary housing for police and fire, hopefully that goes away pretty soon. But that's another project that's going to come in front of the commission for funding in the future. and I wish you best with that, but it sure as hell is needed. So go for it. Normal city functions and operations are being performed. If you take a look around, businesses are back up and running. Our normal services, police, fire, water, wastewater, all those things, all those services are in operation. And all those services, I might add, the heads of those departments fall underneath our city manager, Chuck. So if you're going to lay blame, give some credit too. And finally, well, I just said staff has been decimated. You mentioned the Lake Wales city manager. I was part of that interview process, and I had him as number one on my his list until I sat down face to face with him.
Excuse me, John, can I be recognized for a minute? The last time Mr. Minning, and I'm not being disrespectful, was allowed to go like 4 minutes over everyone else, and I just don't think it's fair to everyone else that each time he gets up, he's allowed to speak longer than everyone. I just don't think that's fair to everyone else.
Yeah. No.
May I add that Commissioner Clark was given umpteen amount of time?
Well, he's not on a 5-minute limit.
Oh, it's okay. Oh, okay. Well, I won't say anything more then. You can have your way. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, Rick.
Sorry, I thought I put in a card. Rick Matthew, District 3. One, I don't approve of this forum. I think there's probably a different way this could have been done rather than kind of a public lynching. I don't disagree with some of the comments. Being a military guy, sometimes we have a phrase, loss of confidence to lead. That may be on the individual, it may be on the organization, but you're not meeting mission. And the first thing they do is remove the commanding officer. I can't see going forward how this can change. And Chuck, nothing personal, we're both military guys, but our ship's taking on water. And the captain's the first one to go. So I don't know if that's necessarily, we need to move forward with this because we got to rebuild this city. And yes, we've lost a lot of people. I don't know what the personal reasons why they left, why they resigned. Maybe it was the free reign was over. We're a small city with a huge budget, and we got a fiscal management problem. We're bleeding money all over the place, and nobody seems to care. One of the residents looked at our budget from last year, and Parks and Rec brought it, I'll just use arbitrary terms, $1,800 worth of goods. At the end of the year, they were $1,100 revenue. And he's like, the financial guy at the time said, oh, we'll just take that out of operating. No. If you pay $1,800 and you're supposed to make a profit and you have a deficit, that's theft. It's not a matter of we'll just make it up. This is the things that we're looking at. I appreciate the comments about getting on social media. We have no other means to do that. We come, we address the commission. Nobody takes notes. Nobody gets back to us with things. This Craybill, a couple weeks ago, brought up, I thought was a great point. Permits are going to start expiring. What is the plan? Say, I can't get a contract. What is the plan for extension? Those are the things that somebody should have wrote that down as an action item and came back and said, Ms. Crayville's question was this, and this is what we plan to do. Instead, we're going to wait until it becomes a crisis and then act on it. When somebody comes up with a great suggestion, somebody should write it down. Otherwise, you have meetings for the sake of meetings. If there's no action items, the meeting is useless. So, like I say, I don't necessarily appreciate the way this thing was done. I understand that maybe it was forced, but we definitely, now that it's out in the open, we need to take action. All right, thank you.
Thank you. We will now close the public discussion segment, and we now will have a discussion between the commission.
Mayor Doctor, can I just address something? Because I do feel it's important because and it's something that, Rich, that you said, and it just kind of hit me. And I just wanted to address it. Trust me, and I think even Chuck would agree with this, and the city attorney would agree with this. The last thing that I wanted to do was like this. But unfortunately, when you hold a public office, it has to be done for transparency. We can't discuss it amongst ourselves because of sunshine law. And unfortunately, that is the way it has to be. We've looked at every possible avenue, and it's just not possible because if a contract was negotiated or something was negotiated behind closed doors, and then we came to a meeting and said, hey, we all decided this, then you all would be like, oh, wait a minute, we weren't part of this. So that's why when you hold a public office, whether it be elected or whether it be hired, it has to be dissolved in the same manner. So I just really wanted to address that. It's not that we're evil people. Believe me, this is something that was the last thing of how I wanted it to happen. But I also realize, through many, many conversations that it's the only way that it could happen. So I just wanted to address that real quick. And before discussion, we do the motion, am I correct?
You can do a motion, a second, and then have discussion, and then the vote if.
Yes, please
that the
do.
way you wanna
Yeah,
do it?
I'd like to get the motion so we
Okay.
understand what's included in the motion.
100%.
So.
Okay. I move to place the city manager, Charles Anderson, on paid administrative leave, effective immediately, to allow for the city commission to comply with the city's charter in bringing a resolution removing him from office at the next regular commission meeting, May 20th, and have the to have the assistant city manager serve as acting city manager during this time. I also direct the acting city manager immediately contact the ICMA to have them provide candidates for an interim city manager. And I can read it again if you'd like for me to, because I know it's long.
So, yeah, do we need to, I'm going to ask Jen,
Yes.
do we need to, for this motion to go through and properly fund it, we're basically going to put him on an administrative leave.
Correct.
What happens there? He's going to be paid for that period of time, but what happens to then how we move forward? So what I'm asking for is if there's going to be any amendments or a negotiation or anything else.
So if you move forward with the motion, it's an immediate administrative leave, and I'll seek clarification just to make sure, but I believe that's intended to occur as soon as the motion passes, should it pass. So you would continue to pay for that service. The assistant city manager would then become the acting city manager and take his seat at the dais. From that point forward, because it's a termination, under Chuck's contract, he is entitled to his severance. So there will be a severance agreement / release, because he has to sign a release in order to be able to have his severance pursuant to the contract. So that will be developed, as well as the resolution terminating his employment and removing him from office, terminating him under the contract and removing him from office. And those items will be brought back to you on the 20th. Now, I do have a couple of questions just to clarify if the commission is going in that direction, and that is, at one point, there was a discussion, we had a discussion with regard to, under his contract, he has to repay for relocation services. And there was, we had a discussion of waiving that. And if that's the commission's will, then that would also be included in that severance agreement / release.
Okay.
Thank you, Jen.
Absolutely.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Yeah, well, I do want to say that there's no way that I could support the way this happened. It should have been done behind closed doors, but I will support whatever the mayor decides.
I would love to speak on that. And Arden, you know I respect the heck out of you, and you do your research probably better than any of us. But one thing I hear you and I've heard over and over again, and again, the last thing I want to do and the last thing I wanted to do was do this publicly. But again, it would be literally illegal if we didn't. So am I correct? If you could confirm that.
Yes, in order to remove the city manager to terminate his contract, it would take an action of the full commission, and that action must be done in the sunshine.
Thank you. I just wanted, I wanted to confirm that. But the one thing that I really want to say is I keep hearing the hurricane and, 1 and 2 Elevate TI, and I'm by no means being dismissive about those. Absolutely. All of the city managers this was their first hurricane in our area, 100%. That's done. And I hate to say it this way, but the mistakes that have been made in the last few months and the mistakes that have literally been done and the lack of leadership just since I've been sitting in the office has nothing to do with the hurricanes. It has nothing to do with Elevate TI. I get where from the outside people look at the staff heads and say, oh, they're trying to move their own agenda. No, the staff heads have had no choice but to self-manage. They've had to figure it out because they've had no leadership. And I will defend them for that. I'm not saying there weren't or aren't, I would say there were a few bad apples. But my point is, I see from the outside looking in where it looks like the heads of staff have gone rogue, when truly they're just trying to survive. And another thing that you mentioned and that you were surprised that I said, and because I do respect you, I took it, hard, was that the staff heads solely left because of a community organization and the people that speak in this meeting. I've had an ongoing relationship with a ton of the staff members for years and years and years from growing up here. I've talked to a lot of the people that have left. I've heard why they left. And I'm not going to disagree that a couple of them have left because they're tired of being beat up. I will not disagree with that. But that is not all of them. And I talked to several employees ongoing that currently are working here, and they're at their wits' end. We've had one particular head who resigned, if I am correct, I believe in December, and we still haven't filled her position. And she is, and I'm speaking not for her, she resigned. And here we are in May, and still haven't filled the position. And she can't, because if she leaves, everything falls apart. And, speaking to some other employees who, and quite frankly, are absolute gems that Treasure Island cannot afford to lose. And we will lose because of lack of support from leadership. Having leadership skills has nothing to do with a hurricane or Elevate TI. Having leadership skills is a skill, and you have it, and you should be a leader through the tough times. When do people need a leader the most? Is in tough times. And that is my point. I do not, again, I keep hearing hurricanes. I keep hearing Elevate TI. I keep hearing all the other things and other people blamed. And to me, it's not even a blame game. We're here to analyze the job that's been done by the city manager and if it's better to keep him or not to keep him. I can say confidently, very confidently, if the votes are not there to keep him, we will lose more employees that we cannot afford to lose. We will not be able to hire the employees that we want to hire because they will not come work here. And every job isn't for every person. And this just is not the job. And I'm quite frankly, and I know I've taken some slack and some heat, a lot of it actually, for defending the staff as much as I do, but I'm sick and tired of hearing the staff blamed for lack of leadership. I'm sick of it. It's not fair. They don't get paid enough. They don't get paid enough to take the blame for something that's not their fault. And the highest paid person in our city is, in my opinion. And we as a city will absolutely, which is why, and I know it seems aggressive, which is why I say we can't do one more day. We can't even finish this meeting under this guidance because our city can't take anymore. It just can't. We are falling apart. And the only way, we are paralyzed. And the only way that we move forward, it has to stop at the top. It has to start at the top down. It has to. And one of the responsibility of making really good money is you're the boss. And when you fail as a boss, it's just not the job for you anymore. And I worry for our city, and that's what I'm here for. I'm here to represent the citizens of the city and the city that I grew up in and that I love and I plan on retiring in. And I'll fight like crazy to make it as good as it can be and as excellent as I know it can be. But it has to start from the top down. It has to.
I want to say one more thing along the lines of what Vice Mayor Vasquez just said. Take out the hurricanes, take out the permitting process, take out everything. I'm talking about right now today, and I'm talking about tomorrow morning. This sentence still stands, and that is, since I've been working with Chuck, I have clearly observed that he does not have the management experience, leadership experience, or financial experience to do the job of city manager of Treasure Island. That's sitting here this minute, and that's also tomorrow morning. So I want to throw that in. And I want to just say one more thing, nothing to do with Chuck, but this has happened multiple times now at these meetings, and I'm hoping as a commission I'm going to request that we stop doing it. Don't know if that will happen, but I really wish that we would stop coming in here and talking about social media and what we saw on social media. The fact that we're wasting time up here talking about what the hell is out on social media, to me, is a waste of time. Everyone knows there's crazy people out there. They're going to put whatever they want on social media. So the fact that we're up here wasting time. And then another time we had a meeting where someone said something about me on social media, and it wasn't true. If you're going to get worked up about, as an elected official, about what someone says about you on social media, you shouldn't be an elected official. And I should know more than anybody. You know, I had someone, a commissioner, just completely lie and blast me when I was attempting to, become a commissioner and be appointed. And no one cared. So, but I still went ahead and ran. I knew what I was getting myself into. So I wish we could just stop doing this. And the sad part is that I continue to hear tonight is the fact that I was blasted from up here doesn't seem to matter. It's okay. The residents are to blame for everything. And you can blast a resident. Mr. Minning, I don't think you had any problem when I got blasted by Mayor Toth up here with the disgusting letter that was read. But we sure care when city staff is talked about or commissioners are talked about. So I just wish we could stop talking about social media and all that because it's just a waste of time.
There's some great comments on social media, though.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments before I call roll?
I'd like, if Mr. Anderson wants to, I'd like to hear what he has to say about this, if you think that's appropriate, Mayor.
If he would like to say anything.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Thursday, August 1st was my first day. This is the first day I started working. And that weekend, I walked into Hurricane Debbie. Everything I've done, every decision I've made, things that I've attempted and have been successful at, things that I have done and have not been quite as successful at, have all been done in the best interest of the residents, the businesses, and the community here in Treasure Island. Because that's who I serve. When I came in here, I knew I was going to serve that community. And I did my utmost to serve it with my best. I have to acknowledge this job is difficult. There's many community needs. There's many projects. There's many items to be done. When I did the interview process with the commission, the resounding, overwhelming consensus of that commission was that there's so many projects that have been started, but nothing is getting completed. And that's what we need you to do, is to move these projects forward. This community has gone through a lot in my last 9 months and overall. There's been 3 storms. You have Debbie, Helene, Milton, and there was recovery and preparation done between those hurricanes and response. And we're still recovering as a community, whether we're talking about rescuing people before the storms hit to the permits to get folks back into their house. I've remained committed 100% the entire time. I've put my job before my family in many circumstances because that's who I am. I want to say and ask for acknowledgement. There's a great staff here. There's 123 people that work for the city. And day in and day out, what they do is they go the extra mile. This morning at Public Works at 7 o'clock, there was a safety meeting. And what are they doing? They're there at a safety meeting to go over items that they know, but also to discuss what goes on a day-to-day basis, depending upon your specialty. Those folks are there going the extra mile, as are the fire department, the police department, Public Works, Park and Rec, Finance, City Clerk, the PIO, Economic Development, the rest of the admin folks. They take great care of this community, and I'm proud to be part of that team. Thank you.
City Clerk, please call roll.
Vice Mayor Vasquez.
Would that be in this particular, I'm sorry, but would that not be, it would be a yes.
An aye. Yeah,
An aye.
if you were in favor, it'd be an aye. Otherwise, it'd be
I just wanted to make that clear.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So yes.
Commissioner Clark.
Aye.
Commissioner Cezanne.
No.
Commissioner Dickey.
No.
Mayor Doctor.
Aye.
Mayor, I know I'm not part of the commission, but I just wanted to ask, we've been going a little while. Do you want to take a brief
Let's
break?
take a recess.